Games Organizing Committee. Ministry says the federation should be educating all the athletes on the do's and the don'ts, and the organizing committee pretty much seems to say the athlete should know what is wrong.
The message to athletes I've often given it is, we want lots of medals, but even if we get one, we want the medal with honor. And we will be clear, and nobody is going to get away now. And the federations also, I read the papers, we are doing it, but federations better launch education for their sports people so that nobody is caught in ignorance. Your directors of sports and sports ministries of the states better start educating.
It is, doping is an issue which is very simple. I mean, you are either taking the drug or you don't take the drug. If you take the drug, the world WADA is strict on the rules and regulation, and when they test you for the drug, you will be stuck. And if you are stuck, you are out. First time you are stuck, you are 2 years. Second time you are out. And there is not one sportsman who is not aware of it.
The strike by resident doctors in Rajasthan came to an end this afternoon after the government backed down, but patients have already paid a very heavy price indeed.
3-year-old Rahul may finally get some treatment. He was badly injured last week as burning oil got poured on his head. But while he was bandaged, for the past 5 days he's been waiting to be operated, as striking doctors did not have the time or concern to treat Rahul. Like Rahul, hundreds of patients across Rajasthan have remained unattended, especially in Jodhpur, the epicenter of the doctors' strike. The number of casualties in government hospitals rose sharply during the strike period. But doctors insist some deaths happen every day in a hospital, and linking deaths to the strike is unfair.
Only thing which is being projected is the data at a point of time, and that is totally wrong. Why don't you project the data which are coming before this? I have the data before this of this hospital only, and we have got deaths more than what occurred during the strike.
Eventually, with public pressure mounting against them and the Gehlot government agreeing to their major demands, the doctors called off their strike. But suffering patients and families who've lost their loved ones are unlikely to forget in a hurry the harassment they've suffered at the hands of doctors supposed to heal them. In Jaipur, Rajan Mohan for NDTV.
And from Rajasthan to Delhi, where doctors at a Safdarjung hospital have now gone on a flash strike. This is the second strike in one of the key hospitals of the capital in just 2 months. The trigger seems to be a scuffle early this morning. A woman doctor was allegedly roughed up by the relatives of a patient, and in protest, around 1,200 doctors decided to call a strike. Jharkhand could have a new government soon with a deal between the BJP and the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha. The BJP Jharkhand MLAs met today to elect former Chief Minister Arjun Munda as their leader. Munda will meet the Jharkhand governor in Farooq in a short while and is likely to stake claim to form a government again. The Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is said to have assured the BJP unconditional support, and the party is likely to submit a letter of support to the governor. Jharkhand came under President's rule in May after Chief Minister Shibu Soren resigned as he couldn't muster support for a trust vote. The Defence Minister A.K. Anthony has ordered a fresh probe into the mystery death of Captain Sumit Kohli in 2006. Captain Kohli, who was serving with the E-Team Rashtriya Rifles, was found dead with gunshot wounds in his room shortly after he was decorated with the Shaurya Chakra, the third highest peacetime gallantry medal. His family had demanded an inquiry into the death, alleging that Captain Kohli was murdered because he was about to expose a fake encounter case in the state. And moving on, a BJP MP's nephew has been arrested for the murder of an RTI activist in Gujarat. Amit Jetwa had exposed illegal mining and the grabbing of land.
Shiva Solanki, nephew of BJP MP Dinu Solanki, under arrest. Shiva has been on the run since his name cropped up in the murder case of RTI activist Amit Jetwa.
Shiva Solanki is going to catch a flight for Bombay from Rajkot Airport. So on the basis of this information, Ahmedabad Crime Branch had sent a team to Rajkot Airport and arrested the accused from the airport only, and the further process is being done by Crime Branch.
Jetwa, an activist in his mid-30s from Saurashtra, had filed a number of public interest litigations against illegal mining and land grabs in the Gir forest, India's prime lion sanctuary. In July, Jetwa was shot dead by 2 unidentified gunmen. The police first said Constable Bahadur Singh Mader, posted in a town along Gir, had hired killers to murder him because Jetwa's PIL had exposed his illegal land grab in the forest. Now the police say it was Shiva who had ordered the killing, because Jethwa had leveled serious allegations against him and his uncle, allegations of land grab and illegal mining inside Gir. Crime branch sources say they have clinching evidence against Shiva, a track of the 15 lakh rupees he paid to the killers, also call records between them. Crime branch officials say that Shiva Solanki's arrest was crucial to establish if he had ordered the killing alone or was Dinu Solanki involved. The family continues to allege that the main culprit is Dinu Solanki, who had threatened Amit Jethwa a month before he was murdered. And they fear that Dinu Solanki's proximity to Finance Minister and Modi man Vajubhai Wala may lead to a cover-up. In Ahmedabad, Rohit Ban for NDTV.
On to another strike now. Unfortunately, there seem to have been lots and lots of them today and over the last couple of days. This one called by left trade unions against rising prices, and not surprisingly the impact was worst in left ruled states of Bengal and Kerala. Schools, colleges and offices were all shut there. The rest of India though largely unaffected.
The strike called by left trade unions to protest the policies of the central government was near total in Kerala. Vehicles kept off the roads and shops and business establishments remained shut. Industry sources tell us that they have suffered a loss of around 200 crore rupees today due to the strike.
The state of paralysis at the Kolkata airport is almost complete. All private flights are off, and here you can see crowds who have gathered because they didn't receive any SMSs, any phone calls about the cancellation of their flights.
Just now when I come here, the coolie told me that all the flight is cancelled. I said, what I'm going to do?
I'm sorry to say that this has to be taken care by the government, who they are handling this.
The fear psychosis created by the CPM that is causing the Bandh to have an impact. An impact it is having, whether the Trinamool Congress agrees or not. The fact of the matter is, life across West Bengal has come to a standstill.
This is the fourth Bandh within a span of 50-60 days. So people of Bengal as well as all of us, we have understood that nothing will come out from a Bandh.
And let's return now to one of the top stories of the day. The BJP is staying away from the swearing-in ceremony of former Telecom Secretary P.J. Thomas as the Chief Vigilance Commissioner. Sushma Swaraj also going to the President, in fact, to complain. And for more on that, we're now being joined by Chandan Mitra right here in the studio. We're also going to be joined we also are being joined by Sudhir Kumar, former Vigilance Commissioner, who's joining us, and Abhishek Singhvi is going to be with us in just a couple of minutes or so. Chandan Mitra, you have your reservations. He has now been sworn in as the country's Chief Vigilance Commissioner. Do you think it is the correct thing to do to boycott the ceremony and then to go to the President?
Well, it's not a very nice thing to stay away from constitutional position, swearing in. But the manner in which the government bulldozed the appointment of Mr. Thomas and was not prepared to brook any kind of reasoning, any logic, even a suggestion by Mrs. Sushma Swaraj during her meeting with the Prime Minister and the Home Minister that, look, just give it another day, let's expand the panel. The BJP has serious reservations on Mr. Thomas's name. You appoint any of the other two or expand the panel, think it over. Everything was just bulldozed, saying no, right now, and this man. No, this is no way to consult. This defeats the entire spirit of the whole idea that the leader of the opposition will be consulted in certain constitutional appointments. If the government has made up its mind and brings only one name forward.
But its consultation is not necessarily giving the opposition a veto power.
Well, it's not giving a veto power, and nobody is demanding a veto power. It was really demanded consultation. Since BJP had reservations, Mrs. Swaraj proposed that they adjourn that meeting, expand the panel, meet the following day, reconsider, and go about it, even if ultimately the government has a majority, it can bulldoze. Okay. But it is the manner, the callousness, the arrogance with which the name was pushed, and the reservations are serious. I'll tell you about them.
I'll just come to the reservations in a minute, but first of all, Abhishek Singhvi, the fact that the BJP stayed away from the swearing in, and also their point seems to be, why only put one name down? They were okay with the other two candidates. They presumably have reservations about the fact he's worked with Mr. Raja and all the other charges which you've no doubt heard about.
Vikram,
This so-called opposition on principle is nothing but the attempt by the BJP, very irresponsibly, I'm regretting to say, to try to exercise a veto over appointment. Let's get the facts straight. Under the law and the practice and the propriety, and the NDA did the same, they have a consultative role. They have no veto. Beyond the point, if the three people who meet do not agree, then so be it, some decision has to be taken. In this case, she went to the extent of recording a voice of dissent, no problem. Once that is settled and the government decides to go ahead by a majority of 2:1, there has to be a point when a quietus has to be given. If you don't give a quietus and you continue to berate, to devalue, degrade and denigrate an institution like the CVC, you are preemptively making a person non-functional before he is appointed. The BJP regrettably has done it with the EC earlier. It has recently, unfortunately, done it partly with the Supreme Court on the Gujarat case of Amit Shah. And now it is doing it with the CVC. And kindly consider, the Home Minister gave a point-by-point rebuttal. The charges against him are nil against this person. His name is mentioned descriptively in some inquiry into some import scam in Kerala when he was an officer there. Nothing, I repeat, nothing remotely is found against him. Completely everything is cleared. Now should he bear that cross for being mentioned in a report in which he is completely honorably acquitted all his life? There is a panel of three, no doubt. In that panel of three, two people, there is a panel of three possible appointees, there is also a panel of three selectors. The three selectors, two of them decide after full reasoning and rebutting Ms. Sushma Swaraj's charges in the meeting that he is good enough to be appointed. Thereafter, I think a responsible opposition should agree and harmoniously proceed. They are making a tantrum about it, unfortunately, and misleading and distorting the facts.
Okay, Mr. Sudhir Kumar, just wanted to get you in on this entire issue and what you make of it. I guess part of the reason why the objection has come in this case from the BJP is also the fact that he did work very closely with Mr. Raja, but that is in a sense after the 2G scam had actually taken place. Does something like that, you think, preclude a person like Mr. Thomas from becoming CVC? What is your take on this entire issue?
Well, the procedure for the selection of the Central Vigilance Commissioner and the two Vigilance Commissioners who constitute the Central Vigilance Commission is laid down in the CVC Act of 2003. There is a committee comprising the Prime Minister, the Home Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. Now, the shortlisted candidates are put up before the committee. The committee decides either unanimously, or obviously the composition suggests that if all of them do not agree, then it would be decided by virtue of 2:1 decision. Obviously the government shortlisted candidates who were eligible, against whom there was nothing really that could be held for this appointment. And in his case, if there are some allegations which have been flying, if they were not substantiated, I don't think they can be held against him.
All right, Mr. Sudhir Kumar, thanks a lot for joining us. Is the BJP going to continue to press this, or are you going to, now that he is the CVC, are you going to let it drop?
Well, I mean, he is the CVC, but I think there are going to be very serious issues because some facts that have since come to light is that this gentleman, Mr. Joseph, he actually prepared a note in his ministry as Telecom Secretary saying that the CAG and the CVC should be kept out of the purview of any investigation into the 2G spectrum scam. In other words, he now as CVC will, if any 2G spectrum scam matter comes to him, he will say the CVC is not to inquire into it. This is precisely why he has been made the CVC.
Let me just get that 2G. Abhishek, very quickly, we are out of time. Is that something which you think is a potential cause for worry? But you just heard what Chandan said.
I am sorry to say, I think it's laughable. A CVC's job is to inquire to anything in respect of anything entrusted to him. There is an act which lays down the scope of reference. There is no question when a person is functioning as Telecom Secretary, he may make a note on the merits of an issue. When he is functioning as CVC, he has an established jurisdiction. I think it is laughable to suggest that an issue which falls in his jurisdiction will not be inquired into.
He will go against his own note.
It's a different.
We would like to see that happen.
All right, let's see what actually happens in investigation into that. Actually, he may well be under more pressure to investigate that in a complete fashion. Thank you all so much for joining us with that perspective. We're going to take a very quick break right now. Then when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the